Welcome back to Respoiled. Today, I have another captivating story to share with you. But before we dive in, if you're new here, I invite you to subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications, so you'll never miss out on all of my latest uploads. Now let's get started. On an alternate Earth, deadly plagues claim millions of lives, the result of alchemists tinkering with genetic science, believing they've unlocked life's secret code. Among these plagues arises a new breed of beings dubbed vampires. These creatures aren't supernatural, they represent an evolved form of humanity. Born from human mothers, the transformation occurs when a particular virus interacts with a specific genetic mutation. Dubbed brothers, they utilize science and assume control of the church to aid humans in battling plagues and provide spiritual counsel. Brothers consume solely donated blood from church attendees and lead disciplined, extended lives as priests. When a brother is born, he is promptly taken to be raised in the church. Recently, there have been few brother births, and all existing brothers have consistently been male. One day, young Silas meets his newborn brother Edgar, who cries incessantly. Brother Augustus explains that since Silas and Edgar share the same mother, Silas must guide him as he grows. 100 years later, an adult Silas is in the slums, using his super hearing to trace a crime. He hears the sound of blood dripping from a woman's body and follows a metallic noise to discover Edgar escaping through a window. Silas attempts to shoot Edgar, but Edgar evades and flees by leaping onto the roofs. The following day, Silas drinks blood with Augustus and suggests partnering with human police to pursue Edgar, but Augustus declines. He's been concealing Edgar's murders since he went rogue and began feeding on humans, a practice the Brotherhood hasn't engaged in for centuries. Revealing the truth would cause panic and erode trust in the brothers, resulting in them being perceived as monsters once more. In Jamestown, a low-income area, there's a shortage of influenza vaccines. Despite being intended for free distribution by the government, criminals steal them for the black market. Captain Lily, who lost her husband and daughter to the influenza, teams up with Detective Jones to crack down on the illegal sellers. Today, they forcefully enter an apartment building and apprehend the landlord. The man insists he's been distributing the vaccines to his tenants, but when the police investigate a sinister old basement, they find numerous sick individuals. While Jones confronts the landlord, Lily observes his refusal to budge and investigates beneath the carpet, where they uncover the stash of vaccines. Despite the landlord's repeated requests for a lawyer, an irritated Lily punches him. The next day, a street kid hears a woman's cries for help while wandering. He peers into an alley and finds Edgar feeding on a human, but Edgar flees upon spotting the child, scaling the walls and leaping across rooftops. A man comes across the child and assumes he's responsible for the woman's death, but the child quickly clarifies that it was a brother. Shortly after, the police show up, and a reporter questions Lily about the rumors of a brother being the culprit. In response, Lily instructs the officers to arrest her. They verify the victim's wound, confirming it's a bite. Lily interviews the child to validate his account and instructs her colleagues to keep quiet about the malicious brother to prevent town-wide panic. Silas observes all of this from a distance. Later, Lily updates Chief Anderson, informing him that she's isolated the neighborhood, making it seem like a new influenza outbreak. Anderson notes they can only detain the reporter for 2 days before the story breaks, emphasizing the urgency of resolving the case. Surprisingly, Anderson discloses that the Brotherhood will assign a brother to aid them in the inquiry. Shortly, Silas enters the station and receives a star treatment from everyone. Silas hands Lily a file containing Edgar's details, observing her closely with his enhanced vision. Lily expresses frustration over the Brotherhood's concealment of crimes, highlighting the church's immunity from consequences. Later, Lily forms a detective team and urges them to maintain confidentiality before introducing them to Silas, who delivers a comprehensive presentation on Edgar. He clarifies that until 3 weeks back, Edgar held a revered position as a scientist within the Brotherhood and was the creator of the latest influenza vaccine. His 3 victims are young women in their early 20s with no apparent connection. However, Silas does have insight into where the next killing will occur. It appears Edgar is treating this situation like a game and has transmitted a recording indicating his intention to choose his next victim from an area known as Bridge Square. The team splits into smaller groups to monitor the area, while Silas positions himself on a rooftop to utilize his supervision. Meanwhile, Edgar stealthily enters a building through the vents. Inside, he encounters a woman he targets but struggles to force entry as the lock is jammed. Subsequently, he moves to an adjacent apartment and waits for the male occupant to vacate the room. Concurrently, 2 patrolling officers within the building hear disturbing sounds and alert the remainder of the team. As Silas observes blood spattering on a window, Lily and her team enter the building, only to discover the lifeless bodies of the 2 officers on the floor. They burst through a door and discover the male resident deceased. As the officers comb through the remainder of the floor, Edgar startles Lily from behind, thrusting her into an empty room where he begins to feed on her. Just then, Jones realizes Lily is missing and searches for her, prompting Edgar to flee through the vents before he can harm her further. Silas arrives and extends his blood to Lily to aid in her recovery. After stabilizing, Silas enters the ventilation system and employs his enhanced hearing to track Edgar, who emerges when Jones angrily shoots at the vents. Edgar dashes down the corridor and seeks refuge in the attic, where he ambushes Silas, pushing him through the floor. Suddenly, Jones arrives and fires shots, injuring Edgar's cheek and prompting him to flee once more. Silas fires his weapon too, this time hitting Edgar with a tranquilizer, causing him to collapse and break through the wall. Jones desires to eliminate Edgar, but Silas intervenes, leading to Edgar's transportation to the church. The following day, Lily, haunted by dreadful visions of Edgar, remains at the hospital. Silas pays her a visit, fostering a tender connection. As Silas exits, Jones presents him with a newspaper featuring the fabricated narrative. Authorities claim the perpetrator, who envisioned himself as a brother, is deceased. At the church, Silas converses with Augustus and Dr. Lipsky, who detains Edgar in agonizing restraints following his assault on a sedated guard. Lipsky doubts Edgar's insanity, suspecting he's infected. The doctor displays a deranged woman, bound to a bed, who attempts to harm Silas upon his approach. Edgar conducted clandestine experiments with a prohibited virus, Lipsky reveals. In the last 70 years, no brother has been born, especially not a female. However, the Brotherhood leaders made an exception for Edgar to enable him to genetically influence the birth of more brothers. Ultimately, Edgar succeeded as the women in the clandestine ward all underwent transformation. Yet, the virus mutated, resulting in the deaths of most test subjects, leaving the survivors with little time. Edgar carries the same virus, and his brain is deteriorating gradually, marking him as the first brother facing death. During Silas' visit, he observes Edgar bleeding from the restraints. Edgar expresses a desire to harm Lily, and when Silas defends her, Edgar mocks him for developing feelings, something brothers aren't supposed to do. Later that evening, Jones and Lily infiltrate a house to dismantle a perilous operation. While the cops apprehend individuals, Lily discovers a group of girls in the back room who were nearly sold. Sensing someone's presence as she exits, Lily notices Silas vanishing before she can identify him. Meanwhile, at the church, Edgar is released from the restraints but confined within a metal chamber. With guards monitoring him through the window, Edgar repeatedly charges at it, gradually causing cracks to form. After hearing Silas interviewed on TV, Edgar discovers that his brother will become cardinal in a special ceremony. Later, Lipsky is summoned to examine Edgar because he murdered the guard who sedated him to pacify his behavior. They assumed Edgar was unconscious, but he had actually deceived them. Now, Edgar studies the building's map, commits it to memory, and then returns to leap through the window, ultimately shattering it. After swiftly dispatching the other guard, Edgar pursues Lipsky and traps him against the wall, compelling him to consume his blood before fatally kicking him. As additional guards arrive, Edgar dispatches them all within seconds. He then proceeds to the front desk, where he also murders the receptionist. Meanwhile, Silas is ordained as cardinal, and the ceremony involves a blood offering with a sword. Unfortunately, he has little time to rejoice as he returns to encounter the carnage inflicted by Edgar. The following day, Detective Kelly hears a woman's cries for help as she walks through town. Freddy menaces to harm his victim, prompting Kelly to startle him with her gun, compelling him to release the woman. Suddenly, Edgar ambushes Kelly, rendering her unconscious, exposing the trap intended to ensnare Lily. Freddy's error arises from mistaking Kelly for Lily due to their resemblance. Subsequently, Edgar offers Kelly his blood, leading Freddy to request some as well, enticed by the hallucinogenic effects. Shortly after, Jones informs Lily about Kelly's abduction while Silas stands guard at her apartment. The team debates Edgar's motives and discusses their next steps, with Lily offering to act as bait. Meanwhile, Freddy continues to extract blood from Kelly as Edgar perches on the roof, utilizing his heightened senses to locate Lily. During the night, Silas observes Lily sleeping and inadvertently kisses her hand, mistaking it for reality until he hears Jones nearby. Edgar lurks in the apartment beneath Lily's, prompting Silas to detect his presence and depart through the window to locate him. Lily observes movement behind another window, prompting her and Jones to investigate the adjacent apartment. They break down the door and survey the area, with Lily heading towards the window, swiftly shattered by Edgar, who drags her out. Subsequently, Edgar presses Lily against the wall, seeking vengeance, until Silas arrives, brandishing his gun in a threat. Edgar releases Lily to confront Silas, causing her to grasp a pipe for safety. Edgar's forceful kick sends Silas crashing into several pipes, rendering him unconscious on the ground. When he regains consciousness, Edgar and Lily have vanished. Upon his return to the hideout, Edgar disregards Freddy's report of sickness affecting him and Kelly. Unconcerned, Edgar issues new directives, prompting Freddy's objection. In irritation, Edgar terminates Freddy by extracting his heart. Subsequently, he positions Kelly in the street, accompanied by a note declaring, "Everything flows from me, my blood will change the world." Shortly after, Stephanie is discovered and admitted to the hospital, where she exhibits erratic and aggressive behavior. The number of cases continues to rise rapidly, indicating Edgar's virus is spreading. Within hours, the hospital becomes crowded with deranged and aggressive women, succumbing to death one after another. Clearly unable to maintain secrecy, the authorities declare the spread of a new epidemic. Jamestown faces quarantine measures and imposition of martial law, permitting the shooting of individuals found wandering post-curfew. Meanwhile, Lily remains shackled to a pipe in the hideout, questioning Edgar about his delay in killing her. He reveals his intent to compel Silas into drinking from her. Outside the church, a growing crowd demands resolution. Silas desires to search for Edgar, but Augustus prohibits it, revealing a grave decision made by the Brotherhood and the government. The regions near the quarantine zone will undergo evacuation, and the slums will be incinerated to eradicate both Edgar and the infection for the common welfare. Unwilling to sacrifice numerous innocent lives, particularly Lily's, Silas defies the orders and seeks out Jones, who shows little regard for him. Silas seizes him by the neck and expresses his intention to assist before detecting the sound of water in Jones' sink. Silas recalls Edgar's message about flowing and understands that Edgar is likely contaminating the water supply with his blood. Silas instructs Jones to alert the media about the tainted water and the Brotherhood's scheme. Subsequently, he evades the soldiers guarding the slums by smashing through a building's window. Out on the streets, he encounters a committed brother caring for the deceased, who reveals something crucial to him. Later, Silas reaches the water supply, and Edgar leaves Lily to confront him. While at the site, Lily observes the loose pipe and begins kicking the wall, creating a loud noise that catches Silas's attention. Mistakenly, he pursues a female shadow he spots running nearby. In her desperation, Lily descends the pipe and successfully kicks open the door, calling out Silas's name in hopes of attracting his attention. Just then, Silas recognizes that he has been tracking a random infected woman, and Edgar seizes the opportunity to strike him from behind. They both tumble from a platform, colliding with several pipes before crashing onto the floor. Meanwhile, the deranged woman follows Lily's voice, attempting to enter the room to attack her. Despite Lily's efforts to keep her out by kicking the door, the woman manages to force her way in and begins dragging Lily down, leading to the eventual breaking of the pipe. Lily manages to free herself by sliding the handcuffs down. When the woman attempts to attack her, Lily uses the handcuffs to choke her to death. Meanwhile, Edgar attempts to give Silas his blood, but Silas wakes up just in time and tries to shoot him. Edgar swiftly kicks the gun away, initiating a fight. Throughout the struggle, Silas repeatedly inquires about Lily. Despite Edgar's attempts to attack, his weakened body proves too slow, and Silas easily overpowers him. Edgar resorts to begging for mercy in a bid to buy time. As Silas is distracted, Edgar kicks him and impales him on 2 steam rods. Silas, injured but alive, collapses, and Edgar threatens to burn his face with steam, but Lily intervenes, stabbing Edgar's brain with another steam rod, killing him. Before leaving, Silas kisses Lily and shows her the important discovery guarded by the other brother: an infected woman has given birth to the first female vampire. Lily agrees to leave with the baby to keep her existence a secret and protect her from the Brotherhood. Don't forget to like, subscribe and enable notifications for more content like this. Thank you for watching.